Welcome to Basic Search for the Shakespeare Collection database. Our first step is to actually find the database. So we're going to start here at SJSU King Library's homepage. Come on down to the Subject Guides section, and from the drop-down menu here, you can select English and Comparative Literature. When you press go, it'll lead us here to the Subject Guide for English and Comp Lit. This has everything that you need as an English major to navigate the library. For this specific database, we're going to go to Journal Articles. If you click on this, you'll find tips for how to search databases as well as a listing for every database that has to do with literature and language research. Scroll about halfway down and you'll see Shakespeare Collection. When you click on it, a new tab will open up that'll lead you straight to the database. Now this database defaults to open on the advanced search, and that can be a lot of information to take in at once. So let's take a step back. Come on up to the blue search bar up here and click on Basic Search. This will make us have a menu setting that will have just less to deal with, which is good for some of your initial searching. So I'll walk you through what some of these items are. The first one is just simply find. You can search any type of phrase or term that you want to look for, and note that it will default to search for that phrase within the entire document of whatever it's looking for. So if you want to change that to be a specific subject or just a keyword, you can do so here. One of my favorite things that this database does is it also allows you to search materials that are just specifically about certain Shakespeare plays or poems. That's where you can input those here, and I'll show you that a little bit later. You also have the ability to refine your search here according to what type of documentation you want to look at. So you'll see that you can look just specifically at literary criticism, or you can search for other types of plays and poems from Shakespeare's time. So you have the ability to do that here. This other little checkbox right here allows you to search the database for documents with full text. That's full text within the database. So you don't always have to click on this. It is helpful but not entirely necessary, as it can limit you to finding what's full text within the database, but it won't allow you to link over to other websites where you may have the ability to also find full text. So I recommend actually leaving that unchecked if you want to broaden your search. And then, of course, you also have the ability to input publication dates if you want to here. We're going to go ahead and do a couple of basic searches. The first one, I'm going to search for one of the men who is sometimes bandied about as a possible author of Shakespeare's plays who's not actually William Shakespeare, and that would be a man named Edward de Vere. So I'm just going to search for him here, leaving everything else blank. And when we come up with a search result, what you'll find here is that we have these tabs on each item. This allows you to see a little bit better what kind of material you are looking at. So text historical is going to be any type of old, here you see this one's from the 1580s, any type of just very old work, a play, a mention in a history book that will include the subject that you're talking about. These are usually scanned items from online archives. And you can see here we have the ability to access a full PDF of The Fountain of Fame, which is a poem by Anthony Munday. Here we also have magazines and journals. Now this is where you're going to find some of your actual literary criticism, some of your scholarly peer-reviewed works. And you also have the ability to find that under articles that are in books, chapters from books. Under reference, that will just be mentions in reference books, guides, encyclopedias, items like that. And then multimedia, there's nothing for this particular one, but this is where you'll find items such as scanned images of paintings or old pamphlets, things like that. Now, here on the left-hand side, you'll see subject terms. I'll get into more of this a little bit later, but this is basically going to allow me to bring it down even more to say that I'm talking about Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford. Now here under the magazines and journals, I'm going to scroll down and show you a couple of things. First, we can find, you'll see some of these say full text. Full text was what I was talking about on the previous search page where you could check the box. If I do click on full text for one of the items here, it really does show me the full text of this entire entry right here on the page. It's not a separate PDF, it's directly within the database itself. So that's why you don't always have to check off that box when you're doing a search. I'm going to go back, and it'll take me right back to the search results I was just looking at. One more thing you want to notice is that sometimes you'll find a yellow Find It button. That is the SJSU Find It button. So if you click this, a new window will pop up that will lead you right back to the King Library website where we have access to this particular record through our own library. So again, you don't always have to click that checkbox for full text in order to be able to find what you're looking for. I'm going to walk through one more type of search. So I'm just going to go right on back to basic search. It still is pre-populated with Edward de Vere, but I'm going to find something a little different this time to walk you through a search one more time. Let's say I'm writing a paper on the issue of sex within Shakespeare's problem plays. I'm going to look for sex, and then I want to specifically find out about this topic in regards to certain Shakespeare plays. So I'm going to click on Browse Works. This gives me a pop-up with all of the plays and poems that Shakespeare wrote, and I can select which ones I would like to pull in to my search. So the problem plays are All's Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, and Troilus and Cressida. I'm going to select those three and then click Submit Selections. And it will automatically populate it into my search. If I select Search, again, a bunch of items come up. And you'll notice on the left-hand side something that happened that we saw before, this yellow menu of subject terms. Now, when we were looking for something very specific, like a person named Edward de Vere, very few additional subject terms came up. When we're looking for something very broad like sex, you can see a lot of specific subject terms will come up that have just more variations. If I click under, oh, sex and power, that's what I want to talk about, then I have the ability to refine my search even more, which is great. Last step is that if you want to save any particular records that you find in your search, you'll simply select this checkbox that says Mark. Let's say I'm really interested in assaying the power of chastity in Measure for Measure. I'll just select Mark. That's it. That's all I have to do. And in order to find it again, I'll come back up to Marked Items. And there it is, right there, my particular saved list. That's it for the basic search. I'll dive more into some advanced information in the next video.